How's it going, everyone? This is Javita. It's high time that I get around to updating my quick start guide for Boundless. Quick side note, I finally got my main PC all fixed up and running, so that's awesome. Anyway, I figured I'd go ahead and do the user interface overview. Despite the name on the video, this is going to be a fairly exhaustive tutorial on the user interface, so be sure to check out the index in the description if you want to skip around. First off, we have the inventory. The default key to open your inventory is E. E also serves as an interact button, so if you're looking at something that can be interacted with, it'll interact first. Otherwise, it'll open your inventory. Down here is the Boundless version of an action bar. You actually have a full action bar for each hand. Up at the top, there's two tabs, one for inventory and the other for hand crafting. As far as raw inventory space goes, this is your entire inventory. When you first start off, it will actually have half of this, the other half being unlocked through a number of skills in the skill tree. As far as the action bar down below, this actually only points to things in your inventory. So if you notice, as I mouse over things on the hotbar, it highlights the item it corresponds to in your inventory. So in other words, this is not extra storage down here, it merely only points to things. You can move these around freely. Moving along, as you notice, many of these items have special icons on them. These series of 9 dots indicate that these are smart stacks and that there's more than one item in this one slot. So for tools, you can open it up and you can see that you can have up to 9 tools occupying only one slot in your inventory, which is amazing for inventory management. As far as resources, this goes even further. So down here I have some metal ore. However, it's a smart stack. You can open it up and you can see I have a little bit of every single ore in the game. So you could have a smart stack with nothing but copper in it for a total of 891 pieces of copper, or any mixture of ore. This is fairly invaluable for resource gathering, as like resources will combine into one stack. As powerful as smart stacks are, they can be a little bit confusing for new players. Case in point, if you're unaware of how smart stacks work and you go and gather several different types of ore, just looking at your inventory, you might feel like you forgot to pick up some of your ore, as only the top leftmost item will appear on the face of the smart stack. As you can see, I can swap it around and the icon changes. Can even do that, and still the top leftmost item will be the face. You can open smart stacks using the right mouse button. You can also use the right mouse button to click on any item to see additional information about it. Additionally, you can hold down the right mouse button and a sort of radial selection widget will pop up, allowing you to split the stack. If you think of this like a clock, at 12 o'clock you can see it's 0, 6 o'clock will be roughly half the stack, and 9 and 3 o'clock are the quarter intervals. Smart stacks usually follow fairly obvious rules, such as raw wood goes with raw wood, raw stone goes with raw stone. There are a few slightly confusing exceptions in that some crafting materials will go together, such as nails and cogs that might not be obvious at first. So if you suddenly find that you're missing something, be sure to check all of your smart stacks, as certain things can stack together that you might not expect, such as iron and copper tools. Another cool feature of smart stacks is that if you do have tools or blocks that stack together, you can equip them separately on your action bar. So if I wanted to have both my ruby and sapphire hammer on my action bar, it's just a matter of putting them there. Pretty neat. Some quick notes about the hotbar. If you're using a mouse and keyboard, the mouse wheel by default will switch both hands at the same time. As you can see, the L and R has a little bit of a pointer to it, pointing to which item is selected. Under controls, you can set up modifiers, be able to switch one hand at a time. Another option is by default, you can hold down Q, which will display your hotbars, and then click the corresponding mouse button to be able to select items from that hand. Another option is you can go under Settings and Game, and you can switch item selection radial switching from both hands to primary hand only. Furthermore, you can select which hand is your primary hand if you prefer using either your left or right hand. This way you can use the mouse wheel to select only your primary hand, and then optionally you can use a modifier key to switch the other hand, or you can use the show action bar button and a mouse click to switch. If you're using a controller, item switching is done via the bumpers in the corresponding joystick to rotate through the selections. Moving along to handcrafting. Handcrafting is simply all the stuff that you currently know how to make that does not require any special machines. So as you can see, this includes things like the light cube if you happen to lose it, as well as your totem, some processing of basic wood, as well as utilities such as warp conduits, campfires, crafting tables, and wood tools. As you can see, up top is craftable items. This is all the recipes you currently have the resources to make. Down here you have uncraftable items. These are items you know how to make but lack the current resources to make. If you click on one, you can see more information, such as the required number and how many you actually have. Moving along, the rest of the menus are accessed via the escape key. As you can see here, you can actually access your inventory from this menu. So if you don't mind hitting an extra button, you can use escape key for all of your user interface needs. This menu is roughly divided in half between character menu and game options. Character menu has everything to do with your currently selected character. Down here under the game options, there is the character select menu where you can switch between different characters if you're in the Sanctum. So obviously inventory is what we were just talking about. Character is going to give you all sorts of information about your character and your skills. Journal allows you to track your objectives and feats. Places will allow you to save locations, set landmarks, and see information about worlds and settlements that you have visited. And social allows you to view your friends list. Under game options, you have your Return to Sanctum button. The Sanctum is your private safe refuge. So if you're going AFK for a while, I would highly recommend returning to the Sanctum. Of course, there's the character select, reset controls to default, and the rest of the game settings. And obviously quit. So going to character, here you can find all sorts of crazy information on your character, such as your core attributes, health regeneration, run speed, sprint speed, action speed modifier, the list goes on and on. One thing that's not currently working at the moment is the display for health regeneration and potentially stamina regeneration as well. In this current build of the game, stamina is not currently utilized, and health regeneration simply isn't displaying for some reason. All other stats here appear to be displaying correctly. Moving on to Mastery. Mastery is your skill in using certain weapons and tools. Resistances is for your mitigation towards certain forms of damage. Exploration involves things like your warp distance, shout range, jump height, threat modifier, and so on. And Atmosphere has to do with your protection against certain atmospherical effects. This, however, is not currently implemented in this version of the game. Next up at the top, we have the tab for skills. There's a crazy number of skills in Boundless currently. I could probably make an entire video just going over these. I'll highlight a few basic ones I feel that are particularly important. Under attributes, one of my favorite stats is dexterity, mainly for the increased swing speed for tools, which can dramatically reduce the time needed to gather resources and progress through the early stages of the game. At any time, if you feel like you've made a mistake in skills, you can always click on a given skill, and if you have cleanse points, you can unlearn a skill. Each time you level up, you gain 1 cleanse point, and you can hold a maximum of 3 cleanse points. Moving along, you have item crafting. Unless you plan on buying everything you need in the game, you'll need at least some of these basic recipes to progress through the game. As you can see, if you mouse over these, you get a description of what these skills will actually allow you to make. Under exploration, you can increase your inventory space. Equipment crafting will allow you to craft tools and weapons, as well as unlocking bulk and mass craft. Bulk and mass crafting allows you to craft more than 1 item at a time for a discount on the resources needed, which can be quite invaluable for stretching your resources as far as possible. Under abilities, there are skills to increase your jump height, as well as an option for double jumping, or air jumping as it's called in Boundless. Under endurance, there's health regeneration, which can be quite powerful when maxed out. Moving along to journal, this is where you can track your objectives. Starting out, the objectives do a pretty good job of introducing you to the basics of Boundless. Here you can see your currently tracked objectives. Under objectives, you can see all the objectives available to you, as well as any objectives that are already completed. An important note here is that you do not have to have these tracked in order to complete them. However, you do have to manually collect the reward once they are completed. Feats, on the other hand, do not have to be tracked to complete, nor do the rewards have to be manually collected. These are intended to be sort of achievements / long-term goals for the player. Under completed, you can see all of your objectives you have completed in the past. Under places, you can see your current location up at the top. Here you can click on it to save the location. Directly under that, you can see your home location. This is set by the first beacon that you place down. However, this can be updated to a new beacon at any time. Further down, you can view all your saved locations. Moving along to the Beacons tab, you can see a list of your current beacons. You can see information such as prestige, how long they're fueled for, as well as their coordinates. Here you can also set a beacon as your home. Under settlements, you can view information on the various settlements you have visited, on planets. And under worlds, you can see some interesting statistics on the worlds you have visited, such as total prestige, most prestigious build, and so on. And as mentioned before, the social is simply your friends list. I would imagine in the future, once guilds are implemented, that their information would also be displayed here. As you can see, friends that are currently offline have gray icons, whereas online friends have teal icons. You can also click on any player to see a little bit of information, such as what planet they are on, as well as the option to remove them as a friend. Moving on to game options, first off we have the Return to Sanctum button. As I said before, this is your safe haven. Whenever you click on this, you'll have to wait 10 seconds. During those 10 seconds, you are still vulnerable to damage, so be sure you're in a safe spot when you do this. But as you can see, it puts you back in the Sanctum. The Character Select button allows you to both create new characters and switch between characters that are already created. If you are switching between characters, you must be in the Sanctum. However, you can create a new character from any location. When creating a new character, it'll prompt you to, of course, enter a name. From here, it'll prompt you to choose a server region. However, you can travel to all of these regions via portals later on. So choosing any one of these will not limit the areas you can visit. Another tidbit of information is anytime you look at a planet and equip your totem, you'll be able to see notable settlements on the planet, with the yellow star indicating that planet's capital. Of course, depending on how the planet is oriented, you may not be able to see it. Some notable settings. Under game, you can set your interface scale if for some reason you need it bigger or smaller for your particular tastes. There's also head bob, mouse sensitivity, Item selection radial display duration, if you want that to display longer or to always be on, as well as an option to have your interact key act as an inventory key as well. Double tap to run, and continuous chatting for those chatter boxes out there. There's of course graphics options. Two of the most performance impacting settings that I've noticed is understandably draw distance, as well as terrain detail and foliage quality, as well as per pixel lighting. Also, there's an option for depth of field for those who like to disable it. There's of course all sorts of options to customize your controls, as well as audio settings and network settings. Some things of note under network would be the chunk download rate. Ideally, you want this to be somewhere below your network connection speed. This is going to control how fast the world is downloaded around you, and if you try to set this higher than what your internet connection can handle, it can cause issues with the game. Also, there's the ignore bad connections. By default, when the game detects you have a bad connection, it will start the process of returning you to the Sanctum, as well as locking your character in place to prevent mishaps such as walking into lava or running off cliffs. However, if this happens frequently, it can be a bit annoying, so you can turn this off if you would rather just deal with the effects. Okay, well, congratulations for making it to this part of the video. This ended up being quite a bit longer and exhaustive than I usually like to make these. However, this video is almost more from my own OCD than anything. If I don't do a UI overview such as this, then each time I come to something slightly new, I feel the need to cover it. This way I can get straight to business in the subsequent videos. Anyway, this was Javita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like it, subscribe if you want to see more like them, and if there's anything you didn't like, let me know down below. Until next time, peace.